Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So in today's episode, we are going to be climbing at Bloc, and today's episode is just going to feature 1 day of training instead of our typical 2. And that's just because I think we might be doing a vlog tomorrow, but we'll see if everything goes as planned. And so, yeah, the theme of today's day of training was, so like I've been saying in the last couple episodes, I haven't necessarily been on a training program since the important competitions are basically over and done with for quite a while now. And I'm just allowing myself to take some time to chill and just climb around for fun and basically just wake up on any given day and just decide what I want to go do for training for that day. So I was actually very excited it's been fun these last couple days, just sort of waking up and doing whatever I want. But this was kind of like the last day of that. I am a very organized person by nature, almost borderlining OCD in a lot of ways. And so I'm kind of starting to get sick of not having a dedicated schedule and a program. And I kind of like to be told what to do by my calendar. So I'm kind of like I'm starting to not enjoy waking up without a plan anymore. And anyway, the point is, this will probably be the last couple days of unfocused training, and I might just start a new sort of program and maybe experiment with the training a bit since we're far out from some competitions. And at the very least, I'm just someone who wants to have a schedule. So even if maybe the training program doesn't end up being very structured, I still like to plan out what I'm doing in advance. And winging it is not doing it for me. So as for this session of bouldering, since we're still doing our unfocused training, I'm just kind of bouldering around. The crazy thing with Bloc, I feel like I say this a lot, is I feel like I just had a session here. It wasn't that long ago. It feels like it was maybe a week ago, a week and a half, but I come into the gym today and there's like 4 new sectors. It is crazy. We set 3 days a week here at Bloc, and it just feels like so much. There's always so many new boulders. And this Green 11 was definitely one of the coolest looking new boulders, and one that I was quite excited to get on. It looked like a nice, fun power boulder, super Zach style, and it proved to be the case. Also, today, I think I noticed something throughout the whole day of training. And that's that I think our streak of super good sessions back to back to back is finally coming to an end. So it's been like so crazy for the last probably like 4 or 5 episodes at this point. I've been feeling super, super strong and just like really feeling like I'm moving good on the wall. And it's just because we're coming off that comp season where I did really well. And I'm even still kind of riding the peak that I hit for a while, especially in terms of my movement. But like also as by design, I haven't been super intentional about trying to maintain this really good shape. And I'm just sort of bouldering around, having some fun with not so much focus. And like today was like kind of the start of where I just felt it in my body, in my bones that comp edge is maybe starting to fade a bit. And I just felt a little stiffer, a little rustier, a bit more low energy, maybe like not as quick-witted on the wall throughout both sessions today. And it felt like more of like how I feel in high volume training. So anyway, I think our streak is coming to an end, but that's okay because it was a crazy long streak of feeling really good, and it's not normal to be feeling like that. So I think things are returning to normal, and we should be experiencing some bad sessions from time to time going forward, which honestly, I've been kind of spoiled recently because I was getting a bit upset at a couple points in today's day of training because I felt like kind of bad on some moves, and I've almost like forgot how to deal with not feeling like an 8 out of 10 because of just how crazy long our streak has been. So yeah, it's time to return to normal and return to earth and experience some like regular climbing shape. Basically, I still think that I'm like feeling pretty good today in both of these sessions. I think it just took me longer to do some things because that sort of edge, I wasn't feeling that edge today, that comp edge. But anyway, let's check out this boulder. So this one definitely looked like one of the highlights of the day of training today. It looked super fun and creative, and I definitely underestimated this ending sequence. I thought once I worked my way into these 2 Gaston crimps that the last move didn't look so bad, but actually the feet that you're standing on are a lot worse than they look, and the right hand crimp is also super, super small, so it's quite hard to use. So anyway, thankfully these flagships are like really good for smearing on this black volume, so this volume feels pretty good. And I unlock the sequence here. The trick was to just get a little bit of press off of my left foot somehow, and trying to compress the little white triangle wasn't really helping me. So I found a little bit of a smear on the left wall, which helped propel me through that last superhero paddle move. And that paddle looked like, at first glance, it looked like it was kind of small and the holds looked really good. I thought it would be kind of chill, but you have to fly to that finish hold. It was definitely a lot spicier than it looked, and that boulder was a 5-star, super, super good comp set. And now let's check out this boulder. So I knew from the get-go that this one looked like it was going to be pretty anti-style, but this thing proved to be way harder than I thought even. This first move is probably one of the most impossible feeling moves I've tried in recent months. Granted, in recent months, we've been in kind of comp mode where I haven't necessarily been trying the very hardest looking boulders in some of the gyms because we've been going for volume. So I haven't actually tried to push my limits recently with hard moves or moves that feel impossible for me at first, and then I put a lot of work into them to make them more doable. And yeah, I've been enjoying that style of volume climbing lately. But yeah, you can see Peo, the head setter, is trying to help me figure out how to grab this start hold. He's telling me that the setters were having more success trying to pinch this sloper at the start, and I see how it would be helpful. I find that in the situation where this hold was felt like it was possible for me to grab, but yeah, these really, really bad slopers are just an anti-style kind of hold for me, and I don't really know how to make much progress with them. I feel it's also not that bad of a weakness to have for my purposes as well, because you rarely see a super, super friction dependent boulder like this in a competition. Oftentimes, condition dependent boulders like this are hard to set for an event because it can be unfair for climbers who have to climb later in a running order and deal with greasy holds. It's also hard to set these kind of boulders in an outdoor venue where weather is a factor. On a hot day, the setters will not try and set a boulder like this because it could end up just being impossible if it's too humid. So for the most part, setters will try and set boulders in competitions with holds that usually have somewhat of a bite. Even when it comes to the slopey boulders, it's not going to be a hyper friction dependent boulder like that. It's going to be usually something where you can kind of grab the hold a bit more. But that's not to say you never see that kind of boulder in a competition. It's just to say that at the very least, it's not the worst weakness to have. Because yeah, that's definitely like one of my worst feeling climbing styles, is super friction dependent moves like that. And then we are finishing the session off with this cool comp lache set. And this lache also turned out to be a lot harder than it looked. I felt like I was getting some good momentum on my swings here, and I was actually having like trouble landing in the roof. And actually, I think I want to talk about a pretty fundamental tip of the day for today's episode rather than something pretty advanced. So for today's tip of the day, we're going to be bringing it back to the basics a bit, and I want to talk about the pretty much fundamental way in which we actually go about swinging our lays for any kind of lache move. So for laches, there are many different kinds. We can have one like this where we're trying to land on a foot. We can have one where we have to do a bit of a runny-do afterwards. But the idea that we're going to be covering today is just simply how to effectively swing your legs in a manner that's going to increase your momentum every time you swing and is pretty formulaic, and you can apply to any different kind of scenario. So the idea is actually pretty simple, and it's funny how it's so simple, yet a lot of people will make the mistake of kind of trying to swing with their arms or go kind of super crazy with their legs. But actually, the most effective way to swing your legs to generate momentum for a swing move like this is to picture yourself on a swing set. So most of us have been to the park when we're kids and, just used a swing set. And the way you swing yourself is sort of by bending your knees and rocking back and forth. And it's almost like a difficult sensation to describe, but we can all place ourselves on that swing set and just feel that motion of going back and forth, bending our legs, kicking them out in front of us, and gradually building momentum and creating a bigger swing on the swing set. So a lache is basically just the same thing. We're just kind of hanging by our arms, and we create this similar effect with our legs by bending them and kicking them in front of us and swinging, and we can feel that gradual increase in momentum. And once we feel like we're at the apex, that's when we want to let go and actually execute our swing. So a lot of beginners, like I said, will make the mistake of kind of trying to use their arms too much and maybe having a bit too much of a bend. But if you just simply sort of forget about your arms and let them just kind of act as the pivot, almost like acting like the chains of a swing set, you basically just treat yourself as though you're sitting on the swing set and letting your arms naturally take the swing that your legs are generating. So yeah, basically there will be lots of variations of laches and different sort of movements that you have to do out of them, or different hand positions that you'll be in a lache. But this is the pretty fundamental idea on how to actually use your legs to create momentum in a nice, simple, formulaic way, rather than going super crazy with your legs or trying to pull with your arms. So yeah, I felt like on all my tries, using like the pretty fundamental lache technique, I was able to like get the momentum, and it was just about optimizing the land position. So actually on this attempt, I kind of accidentally land with my left foot on the small triangle. I was actually trying to land 2 feet on the super big blue volume, but my foot sort of, like it accidentally landed on that small one, and it was a happy little coincidence. And then I was kind of just like, whoa, okay, this feels good. I'll just go with it. And also this ending sequence was a little bit trickier than I thought, and I had to implement a knee to get this finish match. And so that wrapped up the first session of training at Bloc. And I knew I wanted to do my next session of training also at Bloc, for the reason of I've been doing a lot of like doing 2 gyms in 1 day of training recently. And I was recently talking about how I usually try to avoid doing that because it leads me to getting too carried away in a day of training and wrecking my skin by trying a whole bunch of boulders. So yeah, I want to start getting back on my schedule of doing like 1 gym for 2 sessions on 1 day rather than traveling around all the time. So yeah, it's back to Bloc for this session of training. And let's check out this V9 boulder. You saw that we briefly tried this one in the morning a couple times. And actually, these little crimps here are pretty small and in cut, and the kind of hold that you really want to bear down in full crimp. But I have actually sort of picked up another finger tweak on my left hand, and this is actually like super bumming me out because this one is a little bit more painful, honestly, than the one I have on my middle finger. And I was talking to Sabrina today at the gym, actually, and she helped me diagnose what it may be. I sort of have like this lump on my pointer finger. You can really feel it and you can see it. I think it's just like super inflamed, and it's at the point now where I actually will go see a physio. I'm usually quite lazy with little tweaks that I have, and it takes a lot to actually get me to go see a physio. But this new finger problem is really bothering me, and I think probably someday soon I'm going to go get it checked out and ask for some help with this one, because now I'm dealing with 2 finger tweaks on my left hand. A sort of chronic middle finger tweak that will hopefully go away after a month or 2 of climbing on it while being careful. And now I have this new pointer finger thing, which looks like it's some inflammation or something. But yeah, basically what it means is, like on a boulder with those little red crimps, it hurts to full crimp with my left hand. So I have to like slowly work into a boulder like that and test the waters, see if I can actually hold the crimps, or if I have to just like not try very hard. And some sessions feel better than others. In the morning session, I had to walk away from it. But in the second session, I was feeling a bit warmer and my finger was hurting less. So I was able to try it. But yeah, I'm gonna go get it looked at, I think. But anyway, at this point in the session, it is time for some slab. And I was actually really looking forward to trying this slab boulder. It looked like it had some interesting movements, even though it looks pretty simple at first. And honestly, I think that recently, V9 slab at Bloc has been my favorite style of boulder to try. Like for the past 2 or 3 weeks, the V9 slabs here have just been so creative and have had like such unique movements, and are just like, feel like a really fun puzzle to try and solve. And so V9 slab at Bloc is definitely one of my favorite styles to climb right now, along with like V12 power boulder at Block Shop. That's also very fun. But yeah, this one sort of looks unsuspecting. It seems simple at first, but trying to maneuver your right foot over to the little foot chip that's on the white hold to the right is very tricky. I end up realizing that I can kind of press on the start hold while touching the foot chip with just my one finger and getting like a really difficult foot match, and then finding like this toe hook, and then I have to kind of come back to the start hold crimp in order to blindly find the right foot chip. It's a very, very creative, like little subtle movements, and that's what I've been really liking on these slab boulders at Bloc recently. And then a very cool stand-up move to these 2 crimps that is extremely precise. And I really like, that's kind of a super Zach style move, honestly. I've talked about in the past how I'm pretty good at sticking those kind of stand-up moves to a blocked crimp on my first try. And that's been a previous tip of the day as well, is to really make sure you lock eye contact with these crimps and not accidentally slip into your peripheral vision. And yeah, the more direct eye contact you make with those capped crimps, the higher your chances of actually landing your fingers in the slot are going to be. So that's why I'm pretty good at sticking those on my first or second attempt. And it's a very common move in comp style bouldering as well. So it's a good style to have like be your advantage. And yeah, at this point in the gym as well, I kind of have done, it's not often that I've done like every single boulder from V7 and up. Usually I'll do like the A-list boulders in that grade range, but not literally every single one. But since we've been coming to Bloc quite frequently recently, I've gotten to the point where after this last boulder of the session here, I've done like every boulder V7 and up in this gym, minus that red slopey boulder from earlier where that first move just feels impossible for me. So I'll have to give it like a week or two and let some new sets come in before we climb here again, because I've been performing pretty well at Rose Block recently, and I've been able to get a lot of sends. But anyway, yeah, just a quick episode for today, just some chill climbing at Rose Block. And I think the plan is to do like a vlog style video for tomorrow of our campus session, so you can look forward to that in the upcoming video. Insert catchy video outro here.